How's it going, everyone? So someone sent me an article that says Florida swollen ranks of lawyers scrap for a piece of a shrinking legal pie. And part of the discussion in this article is about how the glut of lawyers has led to a dramatic drop in prices. And I thought that was an interesting aspect to consider for those who are looking at law school, because the growth of the amount of attorneys who have been churning out of law schools has been significant. Uh, Florida is notably one of the states that has one of the most amount of growing law schools. But this is true for other big states too. Other big states have a lot of law schools, and the more law students there are, the more, as much happens with anything else in economics, you have more of the supply. Well, then the price begins to drop because of the demand becoming, met, and the competition goes up. And now, in a general sense, that can be good for people that are trying to get legal services, but for attorneys who are just graduating, the perks that were once there are not there so much anymore. And part of the issue too, if you want the bigger economic picture, is that with all the regulations and the cost to become legally able to practice, those things take a big factor into the equation for whether or not it's worth it financially to become a lawyer. That would change, of course, if there wasn't that kind of regulation. But as it stands, there is, and so there becomes a very happy medium of what becomes worthwhile in terms of financial outcomes and outputs of going to law school. What you're paying to put into it, the chances of getting employment soon after, and the prices that you're going to be expecting to be able to charge when competing with other people. And this article is great. It gives examples of a lot of people who are finding that, yeah, they eventually found employment, but it's a fraction of what it used to be. And that's been what I've been saying to a lot of people all along, is that it's not what it used to be. The golden days before the first crash are well over. I'm going to make six figures within a couple of years for most schools is over. All the big perks and the games, the vacations, and the bonuses and all that stuff. It's over for most people who are going into law. That doesn't mean it doesn't still exist, especially if you're in T14, you're graduating top of the class. But for most people in law school, and of course there's a lot more law schools than there are 14 of the top schools. For most people who are in law school, it's just not the same. Um, in terms of that is the long-term, big money and benefits and prestige that used to be with it. A lot of people are saying, especially in this article, that the starting salary is only about 45K, which is barely above what most people make, getting a bachelor's degree in something of a specified field, a science level, biology, computer science, engineering, something of that nature, or people who are doing another profession that has a lot fewer years of education and a lot less money. If you had an MBA, or you got, your CPA or another type of professional degree that costs a lot less. I mean, the price there is just kind of ridiculous. Even in teachers, I'd say that's about what teachers are making in the state too. Lawyers and teachers are just about on par, except teachers actually are going to get full benefits if they work at one of the state schools, unlike your guarantee if you're working for a law firm. And one of the people who was interviewed in this, his name was Luke Leroux. He actually had a great point too. He said before the recession, defendants often had a relative that had a home with some equity and could pay the legal fees. And he said that's vanished. And that's a great point. In my experience, people who suddenly come up with a very big pending issue, if there was a big criminal charge against a family member, like that, they could take out a second line of credit against the house. They could take out whatever they need to get by, and that could be $10,000 to $20,000, especially for a most common charge. You're looking at a DUI. That's the most common thing you're probably going to find with someone who's like suddenly got into legal trouble and they need 10 to 20K in order to take potentially take the case to trial. That's what you're going to need, but since the housing bubble and everything else, the equity is not there. And even with the money changing hands because of the federal regulations, and now new people are getting money, so new people have money that they're starting to spend, it's going to the bureaucrats, the lawyers, and the accountants who are in that financial field, stuff with the Healthcare Act and also AML, anti-money laundering. Can never get that word right because it's so tongue-tying. But the change that's happened is that the young people, the next generation, don't have that equity in their homes. They're on the average, they're making less than 25K a year. Most of these young people who are coming out of college are making, a pittance, and they don't have that equity that they're able to put into a home. They can't afford it. They don't have the line of credit to put into a home, um, and potentially use that as leverage in the event that they, need to take out a loan for a charge, uh, or something big legally related. So, it's something to consider in your state. What's the process that they have in place uh, for licensure? How easy is it to get licensed in your state? Are there a lot of attorneys coming into the state? Are there a lot of schools in your state? You have to look at that too, because as more and more are coming out and getting turned out of these schools, well, the value of your services is starting to go down because there's people undercutting, just literally trying to get experience. A lot of these people who are coming out first couple of years, first 3 years, I don't blame them. They might be living at home. I know they might be living with their mom and their dad, and they need that experience somehow. I don't know people. I had friends who did that. They were living at home. They worked at the pro bono clinic for 4, 6, 9 months, literally not making a dime, just so that they could have that experience on their resume and not be someone who just graduated law school and doesn't have any, material legal working experience, because, they either went from undergrad straight to law school, or maybe they worked for a year or two, but it wasn't legally related at all. And it's kind of not really where the employer feels comfortable hiring, because there's just such a glut of people who do have experience. And in order to get that experience these days, a lot of these young, fresh attorneys are having to go out and do stuff pro bono, or they're taking, uh, conflict counsel cases, which, if you're not familiar, basically, if there's a conflict of interest with the public defender's office, sometimes there'll be outside offices, some are state established, that take these conflict cases so that they could have independent representation. But, some of the attorneys are taking these, $200 per case conflicts, and it's not a lot of money, but it's experience, and they're willing to do it. So consider that. Consider those other factors when you're looking at law school. Look at the projection trends with graduation rates from the law school in your state. Look at what the pricing is for what attorneys are charging, what they're making, and look at the home equity market too. That was a great point by that attorney. If you're in a state where a lot of people don't have that liquid cash, if they don't have that money to deal with those sudden emergency situations, no equity, then they might just try for a public defender, and that's it. And that's the best they got. If you're doing criminal, other stuff, they might just be like, well, I guess we're going bankrupt or we're going to jail. All right, I hope that helps your thought process. I'll talk to you later.